New Thought Media Network proudly presents Lindsay Leimbach, Practicing Infinite Possibilities, Fridays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. And now, here's Lindsay.
To the PIP Show, Practicing Infinite Possibilities. And why I named it this, isn't this a great toy? It's because think of this as being God's energy. Everything that is possible in your life, but with effort, with right action, with right thought, with right feeling, we get to imprint into the energy of what we call God or universal power, and then it manifests in our life. So what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you imprinting? If you don't do anything, you say, well, I'm really just not making choices and I'm being really neutral and I'm not doing anything, then other people and other ways will plant thoughts and feelings into your mind without your control, and you can end up with chaos, right? But once again, we get to hit the reset button, and choose something different. Infinite possibilities. So I am today going to talk about basic Buddhism, and where I called it 105 of basic Buddhism. And why I'm doing this is because I've done, obviously, this is my 5th show on just some real basic understandings of Buddhist philosophy. People ask me, are you a Buddhist? And I say, I practice Buddhism. I haven't chosen to be labeled as one religion at all. I enjoy Christianity and Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, many Native American, obviously New Thought. So I think of myself as universal. But Buddhism, I'm trying to erase that but out of my vocabulary, because the word but takes away the power of what you just talked about. So I would say, and Buddhism has some real good philosophies that are actually in all the other religions as well. And I feel like they're a good building block for my spiritual approach. So today I'm going to talk about some Buddhist values, in my opinion, that make me happier, that I really hold on to. And here's a word, I'm attached to. Because in Buddhism, don't be attached. So anyway, but I am attached to these values. So I'm going to express them. I want to welcome everyone here. Thank you for joining me wherever you are. Hey, Wayne. Oh, good. You're liking the blonde hair. Thank you. You're always so funny and you add such good energy. And Shay, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Good afternoon from Colorado. Shay has a show on New Thought Media Network as well, and I'm going to be a guest one day. We're going to find a time, and we'll get everyone to know that. I also want to welcome my mom and dad in Florida, some friends in Virginia, I'm hoping, people in California. You might be seeing this on New Thought Media Network. You might be seeing it on my Facebook, my YouTube, or you might be seeing this as a recording if you're not here live. Feel free to like it and share it. That's really great. All right, one thing that I like to do with us all in our Sangha group, Sangha is our spiritual group, and so our Sangha PIP group is I plant the seeds to look for hearts, and you all send them in to me and see, what do you guys see? What is the infinite possibilities of seeing hearts all around your world? So let me just show you the hearts that came in this week. Some really awesome ones. Okay, let's see. Check this one out. Is that great? That looks like the best grilled cheese sandwich made with love, right? That's awesome. How about this one? At a craft store and having hearts. I love that too. Okay, here is my favorite one of the day. This is, you see it right there, that heart? It's a pancake. Look at that little heart in that pancake. Was that person looking for hearts from the subconscious mind? I mean, no one looks at their pancakes and sits down and says, I'm going to find a heart and then take a picture. But if you plant that possibility in the morning as part of your practice, today I'm going to see hearts in my world, and you're planning it as a habit in your subconscious mind, then what you think about, you bring about. What you think about, you bring about. That's what we say all the time. So it's so much fun to, instead of taking the news in the morning and then looking for chaos and murder and evil and whatever it is out there, people taking care, greed, all those things exist. But do you need to look for them? Do you need to manifest them? Do you need to bring them into your awareness? Those are the poisons that Buddhism talks about. So in the past, I talked about the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the three poisons and their antidotes, right? The Triple Gem, and the 5 precepts. So those were my classes, 101, 102, 103, and you can go on my YouTube and see them. But today I'm going to be talking more about, I love all those, so I don't want to discard those. I want to say, but more ones that resonate with me every day and why I get so in joy and brings joy of practicing the philosophy of Buddhism. So, be the light. The philosophy of Buddhism, and I like what Wayne's saying here about being the light, be the light, because that's the first one I want to talk about. They don't say be the light, but in Buddhism, this is huge. Self-determination. See, in Buddhism, there isn't an outside God. Okay, so that's why a lot of people can handle Buddhism as a philosophy, and they can carry the philosophy of Buddhism, and it doesn't interfere with their idea of God, because it's more of a director of how to think and how to act and how to cultivate your mind in the relationship between your mind and your heart. So self-determination in Buddhism, they say it's up to you. Well, I'm going to stop pointing at you guys, and I better start pointing at me. It's up to me. It's up to me. So there is this wonderful, I've said it before, but wonderful fable that I think about quite often. And there was this young Buddhist monk, and he was at a monastery, and he carried around a mirror in his robes. And the older senior monk was pissed. How vain is that guy? I cannot believe that he is practicing to be a monk and he carries a mirror and he is so vain to look at himself all the time. And he really was not practicing Buddhism, because there's a lot of judgment in that. And so he went over and he was going to give it to this young monk. And he called him in and he said, "You have a mirror that you carry all the time in your robe. Tell me why." The young monk took out the mirror and he said, "Oh, yes, I do. The reason why is when a difficulty happens in my life, when suffering, when an obstacle happens in my life, I hold it up, and instead of pointing my finger out to other people, I look in the mirror and says, the solution starts with me." And that's the answer. Now, you guys can say, well, that's true in all religions. I hope so, because the bottom line is we have to take personal responsibility for our own personal power. And that is the philosophy of Buddhism. We talked about that there's the Triple Gem, which is the Buddha, the Sangha, and the Dharma. The Buddha, the Sangha, and the Dharma. That's the triple gem in Buddhism. They have all these lists. So that's 3. The Buddha is the Buddha nature in you, or the Christ conscious in you. The awareness that it starts with you. When we're talking about becoming enlightened, when we're talking about doing your spiritual work, it's about what are you doing? It's not what I'm giving you. It's what you're taking in and incorporating into wisdom. This is just knowledge out here. Then you have to take it in and you have to make it wisdom. And you have to awaken your inner heart to know the truth that you're enough, that you're good enough, that it's all inside of you. It starts from the inside out, not from the outside in. And it's really important for us to remember that, because in our culture, and especially in the Western culture, we are always fed that it starts from the outside in. If I had the right car, the right job, the right wife, right? Lived in the right neighborhood, had the right amount of bank account. And so we're always seeking to fix the outside, when the truth is it starts from the inside. You work on the inside. So that means you take personal responsibility. I love that. So the Buddha nature, right? The Sangha is the group, the spiritual group. I said we're the PIP Sangha, right? We're all here together, and we're all sharing this experience together, and we support each other together. That's why things like New Thought Media Network and getting onto these lives are good, because we're doing it together. I'm just going to check on together. I'm going to check on my comments really quick. Yes, we're all in it. There's my dad. This is a really neat way for my PIP Sangha. My mom and dad watch me every time, and it brings us together. It brings us closer. It gets us aligned to support each other, to have the same vocabulary, to be able to be vulnerable with each other. So I can be vulnerable and allow myself to ask for help when I need it. And I need to know, when do I need help? So the Buddha, the Sangha, and then the Dharma. And the Dharma is the teaching. The Dharma is the knowledge out there of any religion, anything you read. It's all out there, good stuff and bad. So be careful what you read. But then you have to take it in and bring it into your inside. So the number one value that I really step up and live by every day is self-determination. Here's my second one. Mindfulness. Okay, of course, I'm a mindful coach, and I teach mindfulness. I've gone into corporate. If you ever put Lindsay, Leimbach, JPL, NASA, I spoke there, and they record it, and you can see it on YouTube and see what I do, how to reduce stress, worry, and anxiety. The bottom line is mindfulness is a skill. It is a skill, and it's about being aware in the present moment without judgment, meaning that you stop telling yourself the past stories and you really sit in your personal power of the power of now. Where have we heard that? The power of now. Eckhart Tolle. Love it. One of my all-time favorite books. Actually, it's the book that brought my husband and I together, because he told me it was his favorite book before I dated him. And I was like, ooh, this guy is great. If he understands that. So the power of now. You can't change the past. You can't change the future. In the future, all you have is the power of this moment. And when we put poison of the past into our present moment, self-doubt, look, I messed up yesterday. Here we go. Oh no, last year's holiday season was horrible, or last year's schooling season was horrible, or I don't like my job, whatever it is. And you put those thoughts from the past into your present moment, you are poisoning your present moment. So we have to get into the present moment without judgment. It doesn't mean that we don't learn from the past. I love learning from the past, okay? But there's a difference between reflection and rumination. Let me say that again. There is a huge difference about reflecting on the past and ruminating on the past. Rumination is that hamster wheel. Oh no, here we go. It's when you go into worry. When you ruminate, you can feel your stress level go up. And when that happens, your amygdala inside your brain goes off and you start releasing cortisol, and adrenaline, and you shut down your prefrontal cortex and you go into habitual patterns because you can't observe what's going on. So rumination causes chronic stress, which causes the stress reaction of shutting down your higher level of thinking, not being able to hear your intuition, not being connected to your mind and your heart. That's what rumination does. So we don't want to ruminate. We want to be aware that we ruminate, but as soon as we realize we're ruminating, we say, okay, I'm going to not ruminate, I'm going to reflect. Reflect is awareness with power. Oh my gosh, reflection is awareness with power. It means you can learn from yesterday, but you're not going to condemn yesterday. You're going to find the lessons from yesterday. You're going to discover the habitual habits you have from yesterday that might be carrying in today so you can tweak them. Reflection is based on curiosity. Love it. Reflection is based on curiosity. Rumination is based on doubt and worry. Big stuff, right? Can't you see the big stuff in that? So mindfulness is being aware in the present moment. And if you are ruminating without judgment, you realize that's a habit you have. And you say to yourself, okay, I don't want to put rumination into the present moment. I want to put reflection. If I need to understand what happened to me yesterday, or if I need to understand what happened to me at my old job, or my divorce, or my breakup, or whatever, why I eat too much, that's fine. But I'm going to do it with curiosity, not with stress. I'm not going to shut down my brain. I'm going to allow my higher level of thinking to connect with my heart and have intuition and hear God's words. Got that? That's pretty big stuff, right? I love that. Let me look over here. Yes, I do. I agree with you. The mind of Christ. I love that. That's what Wayne just said. You connecting when you're hearing the mind of Christ or Buddha nature or whatever it is, you're in that calm present moment. You can't hear it tomorrow. You can't hear it yesterday because yesterday is gone and tomorrow never arises. It's only in the present moment. So that's why mindfulness is so extremely powerful. And I talked about, before I started the Buddha series, I talked about take a knee and drink water. What I heard a gentleman who used to be in the military and now is in the police force. And he says, that's his mantra, take a knee and drink water. What it means is stop, get yourself in the present moment, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself in the present moment. Drink some water. Be there presently. And so then you can connect and hear what you need to do and not have a knee-jerk reaction that's tainted by the media, TV, your childhood, even your health. If you're really tired, then the prefrontal cortex shuts down. I work with a lot of clients, and one thing they forget to do is eat. When you get stressed and overwhelmed, you go on like, woo, you're living on adrenaline. When you're living on adrenaline, you're not really clearly thinking. Your brain needs so much energy to operate. And so when you have limited calories and then you're also stressed and moving very fast, then you go into habitual patterns and they usually don't serve you because you're stressed. So something needs to shift. Some kind of mindset needs to shift. So you need to eat to have the calories. Now, I don't mean to eat to cope and nourish isn't the right word, as a coping mechanism. So to overeat, to release dopamine in your brain. So you're trying to change your reward system. That's a whole different issue. But you do need to eat so you can have clear thinking. And so don't forget to eat. And I mean healthy things. I don't mean Snickers, even though I like Snickers. I mean fruit and vegetables. One of the greatest things I've been reading a lot about to eat is pumpkin seeds. Look it up. Google pumpkin seeds and why they're good for you. It's very interesting. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Compassion. A value in Buddhism is compassion. It's, if you read the literature, you read the spiritual teachings, it's always talking about coming to compassion. And compassion is really the fundamental of understanding someone else's pain and also understanding your pain without judgment, right? It's really compassion and empathy. It's when you care. It's when you actually care, when you actually help someone else or help yourself. So there's a lot of books out there about how to be more compassionate to others. These days, we're learning also how to be compassionate to ourselves. I wrote a really, I think it's a pretty good article, you tell me, about self-compassion. And it's on my Facebook page. So if you go to Lindsay Bird, B-Y-R-D, Leimbach, and asked to be my friend, I'd love to be your friend. And I just put it up there. And it's talking about how when I was the head of school for a long time, I didn't have self-compassion. I had compassion for everybody. And I was very stressed out. And I was happily stressed out. Not bad stressed out. I loved my job. I loved my family. I loved the people I worked with. I loved the students. Oh my gosh, the families, I just adored them. But I forgot to take care of myself. I just kept giving out and out and out. And I really don't think I was giving out for validation or trying to be a people pleaser. I really loved everything I did. But the bottom line is there's only so much I can do before my gas tank gets empty. I would just try to put more meetings in. I'd work at night. You know, I'd wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I'd get to work by 6:30 in the morning so I could have a good hour and an hour of quiet time and open up the school and get my paperwork done before the buses start running and I have to start solving problems. I didn't do it because I felt like I had to do it. I did it because I wanted to do it. I wanted to do a really good job and I really cared and I believed in the mission of the school. So we have to remember sometimes when we get stressed out, it's not necessarily because we're doing things we don't want to do. It might mean because we're taking on too much and we're not taking care of ourselves. And there's only so much that this body, human body, can do and think clearly. And so I had to go and learn how to be more self-compassionate and carve out time to hit the reset button for myself. And so it's a short little blog, but I would love to know if you enjoyed it and how I talk about that. So check that out. So self-compassion, we've talked about. The last one I want to talk about today, and of course there's many of them, is loving kindness. Okay, so we know the first one I talked about was that it starts with you, right? Self-determination. That's a value of Buddhism. It's up to you. You don't go and get blessed and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's all done. All my sins are forgiven. Something like that. And it doesn't work that way in Buddhism. And the philosophy of Buddhism is that you get to learn and grow and that you are always changing. Impermanence is another one that's huge in the Buddhist values, that you're always changing. You're always changing. And so you have to live a life of practice. So that's the first one. Practice every day, practice, and things will happen and you'll step backwards. That's okay. And keep practicing. It's up to you. You want a better body, you got to go to the gym. You want to have a better connection with the universal mind, then you practice knowing there's infinite possibilities and you practice what energy you're determining in your life, what karma you're going to set up, because it's you. The second one we talked about is mindfulness and being in the present moment without all those past stories, skill, and have the skill of awareness. You have to practice being aware because chaos happens. And if you let it happen, then that's your life. But when you become aware that chaos is happening and you still get to choose, you have the power of choice. That awareness allows you to make total freedom. And that awareness and that non-judgmental is compassion for yourself. So you can pick yourself up without having that judgment like, oh, damn, I messed up again, or I'm not good enough. All those tapes and those stories. Self-compassion says, hey, you're a spiritual being having you're a spiritual being having a human experience. I get this confused sometimes. It's a tongue twister for me. And so you have to have compassion that when the human experience gets a little overwhelming, that you are like, I don't know what to do, because the amygdala kicks in, your fight, flight, freeze. But then you have compassion and say it's okay because you're a spiritual being. So you have that Christ consciousness in you. You have that Buddha nature in you. You have that internal energy. You are already perfect and whole inside. You just need to remember how to do it. I always say you're not really learning. When I'm talking to you, and if this is resonating with you, I'm not teaching you anything. You already know everything you know. It's waking up in you. It's so exciting. It's empowering. It's already inside. I just love that. I love that. So then we go to the last one, which is loving kindness. So why I went through the review of that is because loving kindness is the action. There's loving kindness meditation that they talk about a lot. In Buddhism, you don't hear people saying, let's talk about love. You don't hear them say that. Compassion, self-compassion, yes. Awareness, mindfulness, non-judgment, meditation, all these words. But you don't hear just the word. You hear loving kindness. Because in the philosophy of Buddhism that I have learned, it's an action of kindness. It's sending energy out. It's doing kind deeds. It's saying kindness matters. It's saying your spirituality. What religion are you? Can you be kindness? Of course you want to be love. I don't want to say you don't want to be love. But when you are kind, it is the action of love. So a lot of people are like, well, how do I do love? Because we're not talking about romantic love, and we're not talking about how I love chocolate or sushi or pizza. Or I love that tomorrow I'm going to go see the Barbie movie. I hear it's really good. I love that idea. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about kindness. Are you being kind to the act of being kind to yourself? That's compassion. Inner compassion, the act of being kind to yourself, giving yourself some time, loving kindness, giving yourself some time, eating well, sleeping well, believing in yourself. Are you doing loving kindness for yourself? And then are you doing loving kindness for others? What is the act of loving kindness you can do for someone? What is actually, can you physically get yourself out of the chair, call someone, go for a walk with someone, take in their trash bins, check on them that they have enough food because it's so hot and maybe someone older that can't go out and get groceries? Can you do the act of loving kindness? And the beautiful thing about the loving kindness prayer, that please Google it. But it's when you sit down and you recite to yourself, may you be happy. And you sending it, let's say, to your daughter, to your dog, to your husband, to your neighbor. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. And then you say it, you can say it to yourself, may I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease. And then you take it to the world. Then you can take it to strangers. And if you're feeling really good, you can take it to your ex-husband, to someone that you might have difficulty with. Now, does this change them? I think it does a little, because I believe that when you send out prayers and energy, if they're open to receiving it, they will receive it. If they are not open to receiving it, it's their journey and it's their karma. But if they're open to receiving it, I send it out. This is also what I do when you're driving down the street and all of a sudden you see a car accident. I can't physically go out and do a loving kindness act, like get out of my car and, there are people there and figuring it out, police officers and whoever needs to be there. But I send them and bless them loving kindness as I drive by. Instead of going into looky-loo, look at the drama, I wonder what happened, whose fault is it? That's irrelevant. It is their journey. I don't care whose fault it is. I care that everyone is safe. I give them the loving energy to the first responders. I give it to the people in the accident. Doesn't matter who they are. And I also send it to the people who are about to get the phone calls they don't want to have. Mom, I was in an accident. To that mom. So that's why I love Buddhism, because Buddhism is about being in the present moment, evaluating what is going on, without judgment, having compassion for myself, having compassion for other people, and having the act of sending loving kindness, even if it's just thoughts or if it's physical actions, but I actually do something. Wow. Now, there's a wonderful book called Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, who is a fabulous Dharma teacher. And radical acceptance is loving kindness, but it is mindfulness. It is mindfulness. And I'm teaching a class on radical acceptance. So next week for Buddhism 106, we're going to talk about how to take radical acceptance and bring it into our lives to build more resilience and happiness. So hopefully you'll show up for our 106 Buddhism Radical Acceptance. I want to thank everyone at New Thought Media for allowing this to happen. I want to thank so many of you who have just done so many wonderful, like Wayne, putting in humankind be both. That's such a Buddhist statement, but it's a spiritual statement. Be a human being and be kind, because you can. So if you want to send me some hearts, please send them to me. Let me ask. Here it is. You can contact me, message me through Facebook or centeredmoment.com. Centeredmoment@gmail.com is my email. I'd love to see it. Please share this with whoever that might want to know and understand why basic Buddhism, just the philosophy of Buddhism, really cultivates happiness. And if you're intrigued by some of the things I talked about, please go back and see my other episodes on my YouTube channel, Lindsay Leimbach, Centered Moment. Until next week, I just want to thank you all. Getting in here. Have a marvelous week. Blessings to you all. Sending you loving kindness always, and knowing that we all have infinite possibilities. So may we all have joy, peace, and ease this week and every day as we affect the world. Make it a better place. All my love. Talk to you later. Thanks again. Let's see. There we go. Bye.